Rock Felder is the co-founder of the podcast recording platform Squadcast FM, which we are on right now. He came from a CPA background, which of course really helps if you want to keep your business in the black. And he's on a mission to amplify collaboration and meaningful conversation without any borders. And I'm really looking forward to hearing how he's doing that today and have him dish out tips on how to be a better podcaster. How are you today?
I'm great, Kim. Thanks for having me on. So happy to be here.
So let's dive into the meaningful conversation part of this conversation that we're having. Where did you see a gap in the podcasting marketplace for real conversation? And how do you see Squadcast, filling in some of that gap?
Absolutely. So I think that's one of the really amazing things about podcasting as a medium is it gives folks the independence and time and space to have a conversation that they want to have that you're not going to hear through various mainstream media outlets. One, because there's really just not enough time, whether it's a TV show that's got to cut between segments or got to make ad time for, like radio shows. It's just a very different medium that allows that space and opportunity for folks to really go deep on conversations. And that's one of the things that I love about podcasting is it can be 3 hours long. It could be 10 minutes long. There's really no hard and fast rules here. It's really, again, that's where the independence part comes into play. But one of the gaps that my co-founder, our CEO, Zach, noticed was he was trying to create a science fiction podcast remotely. And with this type of podcast, it was really important to them to have the conversation be, or the quality of the audio be extremely high quality. And they ran into that because they ran into trouble with that because they were trying to record the show remotely. Him and his team were distributed all around California, and they just noticed that it was like really difficult to do. It was just inconsistent. A lot of the apps or leading edge technology options out there were not really engineered for content creators, and so that was really the hole in the gap. Was like, okay, podcasting and just technology in general is leveling the playing field for independent folks like you and I, Kim, to create our own micro media companies. That's how we see podcasters today, is that they're their own micro media company, and technology is leveling the playing field for them to get their message out there and compete with other types of larger media corporations. But not everyone's going to have the ability to record in the same location, record in a studio. And so with Squadcast, we're giving them that cloud studio experience where you can have all the benefits of connecting inside a virtual place and not having to worry about any of the sound quality or the technology. All you have to worry about is focusing on having a great conversation. And we do that by making it extremely easy, but then also making it extremely reliable so that you can always rest assured that the audio is being recorded. It's being recorded in the highest sound quality possible. We do actually offer the ability to record video recording now, but that's a little bit newer.
Well, we're doing that right now. We're actually recording video right now. What I love about what you're talking about is you and I have been trying to get on the phone and record this interview, and because of our schedules, we haven't been able to get on the phone. And just last minute, you were like, "I'm available," and I raced down to my laundry room, threw up my microphone, and it's like, it looks pretty good. Like, it doesn't look so bad, and it's like, I'm being transparent, just for the sake of this conversation. But I was able to immediately be full on podcaster mode because I have Squadcast, I have the microphone, I have the room, I have the lighting, I have the space, and I'm able to just go. If I had to drive to a studio and deal with the engineer and get everything set up. Now, the one thing I have to say is, and I come from the movie business, and so when it was available for everybody and their mother to start making movies and put them on YouTube, we had this influx of crap, okay? Everybody thought they were a movie maker. And for someone like me who was actually a legit movie maker, I was like, we were not down with that. Are you finding that there's a lot of podcasts that are being created that are just, they really shouldn't be being created right now?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great analogy, and I do think it is applying to podcasting, where one of the things that we commonly talk about one of the benefits of podcasting is that the barrier to entry is low. And so that's kind of the unfortunate consequences. It's so low that anybody can do it. The difference is I think when folks folks hear that, they kind of hear low barrier to entry and equate that to being easy. And by no means is podcasting easy. There's a lot of jobs to be done. Creating engaging quality content that you can build an audience around is not easy. And so I think, we'll still, the best will rise to the top as they always do. But you're right. I do think we're in this stage where there's a lot of excitement and a lot of folks that, are starting from a good place and coming at it with passion, but maybe don't have the realistic expectations about, what kind of endeavor podcasting is. And I'm definitely not trying to discourage anybody from doing it, because I do think it's an extremely powerful medium and a great way to build influence and audience build and build authority. All those things are wonderful things. But just because the barrier to entry is low, which is true, I do think that's true, but it doesn't mean it's easy. And that's because companies like Squadcast, and there's so many other amazing companies in podcasting and just like tools for content creators, we are making it easier, but like still creating the content, that is the creator's job, and by no means is that easy.
Right. And when I got into this and I started doing this, I was like, okay, what's popular? Like, what am I going to do? I was a little bit horrified at some of the podcasts that were popular, but people like to hear about sex, and they like to hear about certain topics, and they like good sound effects, and they like, they like celebrities. And so, there was a lot of, it was the same with the movies though. It was like, you're going to go make a great thought-provoking indie movie. And it's like, I'm still doing it with podcasting. Like, I haven't given up. Like, that's just my thing, and like, you're right, whatever's going to connect with people does rise to the top. So tell me about your childhood. Like, what kind of conversations were you having there? Were you like, I was the Casey Kasem listening, hairbrush talking kid. What were you?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I think I just grew up listening to a lot of radio, like on the drives to school and stuff like that, and was always very interested in that. But I think for me, what made podcasting so unique and special is like, it was topics that like, they just are so niche, and stuff that sometimes I was fascinated that I was interested in, or the ability to, research or listen to a specific topic, whether it was for business career purposes or personal purposes. Like, podcasting has that for you. So yeah, I've always been captivated by audio, and specifically, first introduced through radio. But a lot of that was like political stuff, or
AM radio. AM. Did your parents listen to AM radio?
Exactly. So not necessarily my cup of tea, but that's what I think I love about podcasting, is it's on my terms. I get to start and stop it, and I think that's what's really important to me, and something that I value about a lot of the content that we have today, is that it doesn't have to be live.
Right. It's true. Now, you started this company with high school friends, though, which is why I kind of asked that high school question, like, what is your relationship with friendships, and like, what was that like to kind of bring those friendships back in?
Yeah. So I am the oldest of three. I have two younger sisters who I absolutely love, but I truthfully really wanted a brother. Could have used a brother growing up. So
but that means you're a good boyfriend if you have good sisters.
I would hope so. Yes. I would hope so. But I think that made my friendships outside of my family like even that much more special. So my male friends were like brothers to me, and so Zach, who I mentioned earlier as our CEO, is someone that I've known since high school. Originally, I met his older brother, Vince, who is actually also a member of Squadcast. He's on the team. So I knew him first because he was a grade above me, where Zach is about 2 grades younger. But Zack and Vince are extremely close, and their family is just a very awesome, close-knit family. So I spending enough time around Vince, Zach was hanging out with him and quickly became my friend. And Zach had always been this really ambitious person who, at first when I was getting to know him, I was like, wow, this guy's got some crazy goals. Like, I wonder if he'll do it. And then he kept rising to the occasion every time, always accomplishing those goals. So he was one of those people that I looked up to in that way, that like, if he says he's going to do something, he does do it. And so mentorial brotherhood and mentorial in a way. Yeah, maybe like indirectly. I think like I've recognized that like I do really well surrounding myself with people that, push me to be better, whether they know it or not. And he's absolutely one of those people, along with a lot of my friends. I'm grateful that that's one thing I'm good at, I would say, is picking out good friends.
Right.
And so when Zach approached me about this idea for Squadcast and asked me to be his business partner in it, I was blown away with excitement. One, because I just had seen him. I knew that he was going to do it, basically. Like I knew he would be successful at anything he put his mind to. So pretty honored that he would ask for me to be his co-pilot, so to speak, on that journey. But then also I had been independently going through my own kind of personal renaissance, where I was realizing that, like, I did the traditional go to college, get a school after, or get a job after,
right,
and kind of work your way up the corporate ladder, so to speak. And by all accounts, I was on that path, and I was happy with that, but it felt like something was missing, and I wanted to do something more independent, more entrepreneurial. So when Zach was telling me about this opportunity, I was like, you have no idea that I've actually been kind of preparing myself for
manifesting this, right?
Right,
like readying yourself. That's really, really cool. That's really
exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. And so with the opportunity being rooted in podcasting and then this remote collaboration piece of it was a no-brainer to me, because I was already a big fan of podcasting and still was kind of puzzled by the fact that this was back in 2016, and back then it was still relatively unknown and not mainstream, and many folks didn't even know what a podcast was, let alone know that they had access to it on their phone, on an app on their phones.
Right.
So I thought that becoming more mainstream was inevitable. And then also thinking the other wave that I saw us riding was remote content production, remote collaboration. Just that's something that Zach and I were fortunate enough to get exposed to in our previous careers. And we thought, more people are going to want this. This is actually a pretty great setup, and productivity can still be, can still happen.
Right.
So we of course never forecasted that like a pandemic would accelerate the need or the exposure to remote work, but nonetheless something that we both of those things, podcasting and remote collaboration, remote tools, those were two of the things that to me were like, okay, this is the future. That's inevitable. Can we build a business around it? So that's what we started doing in 2016 and haven't looked back since. And, fortunate to be helping tens of thousands of podcasters record their shows in over 130 now plus countries.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Is.
Yeah. So I want the listeners to throw down in any comments or any chat or on my social, would you ever go into business with someone from high school? And are you still friends with your high school friends? That's what I want to know, because I have no high school friends. So I think there's a polarity. I think people are either really down with their high school friends and they still see them, or they're like, I got nothing, right? You go on classmates.com, you're like, I don't even know who any of these people are. Were there any moments when you were getting entrepreneurial with Squadcast that you thought, this might not work? Or were there any naysayers that tried to get you to think that?
Tons of naysayers, which is, pretty difficult to deal with, even though it was totally to be expected. And I think it was very common stuff. Like when you're kind of starting, one of the advices for businesses is actually similar to what common advice is for podcasting, is the riches are in the niches, or niche down and, find a need that's not being met that you're either interested in or uniquely qualified for, or something like that. So at the time, like remote recording platform for podcasters did, I think just a lot of people saw that as being small. But, our forecast was, okay, yeah, today it is small, but it's not about where it is today. It's where it's going. And we still think
forecast. Yeah,
absolutely. And we still think it's early days in podcasting. There's a lot of signs that demonstrate that. For example, like as far as like ad revenue for the industry, we've only just approached $1 billion versus radio, which is like, I forget exactly, but it's multiples of that. And, I think it's similar enough to think that, okay, and advertising isn't everything, but I think it's a good baseline to kind of say that we got a lot of room to grow. And I'm very excited about that. And again, still think it's early days. But yeah, so I think so definitely had some naysayers. I think for me personally, there was one moment in particular that came to mind where I was really concerned and just like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? And it necessarily wasn't anything to do with podcasting. I just think it was my own like psychology at the time. So for the first two,
you had to push through that. Yeah,
absolutely. So for the first 2 years of Squadcast, Zach and I worked on it on nights and weekends while holding down full-time jobs in our previous occupations. But in the summer of 2018 is when we decided to make the jump and working on it full time. Although we were not giving ourselves full salaries just because we couldn't afford that yet. But the business was getting to a point where we had hundreds of customers that were depending on us. Like the moment felt heavy and felt like we needed to focus on this full time. And during that summer of 2018, we pushed a really major update that we were really excited about, but it wasn't, we pushed it out too early. And so it actually was, there was some problems with it, some issues that came up that of course we didn't, originally, capture in time. So that was unfortunate. So I think the timing of us being super excited about this major product update, it not landing exactly the way that we thought it would. And then also, having, just given up the cushy salary and going full time on this entrepreneurial experience, like had all this like anxiety and uncertainty going into it, where it was like, okay, is this going to work? But fortunately, we had given ourselves about a year to 2 years of like, okay, whatever happens, but we're gonna dedicate to this fully for that time period. And thankfully, that was just a moment in time, and honestly, something that's kind of comes up reoccurring. There's always some kind of thing that comes up that feels like, oh, this is the big moment. But now I've had enough experience that I can recollect on and be like, okay, you've been here before. It seems like it's different this time. It seems insurmountable at the moment, but you can persevere. You can figure it out. Just, get your head back in the game and focus on solving the problems at hand. And it contributed to a lot of confidence, I must say, that like, even when faced with these.
Yeah, you have to have your ass in the fire is what I
say.
A bunch of times before you're just like, okay, all right, I've already done this. Like I almost look forward to like, if it's the same ass and, if my ass is in the fire the same way, I'm like, I'm not growing really. I'm just going to know how to deal with it. But then comes the moment where you're like, oh, this is like a new fire. And you're almost like kind of frightened and excited at the same time because there's going to be a breakthrough.
Exactly. And that's what Zach and I will start to have conversations where one of us is like, look, we've been here before. It hurts. It sucks. But these is like growing pains and we always come out stronger. So
come out stronger. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're doing like a sports commentary, but it's like, it's true though. It's like you do build, what doesn't kill you make you stronger is very true. So we talk about books on this podcast. What kind of writer are you? I mean, I know that you come from a CPA background. Are you creative? Do you write? Do you ever want to write a book? Have you ever thought about writing?
Yeah, so I wish I would have taken writing more seriously in like college, just because like it seems so obvious now, but like everything is writing, especially as we start to work more and more remotely, which our company has been organized from day one as a remote first company. And I think remote is doable. We certainly embrace it, but it does require a lot more communication, especially written communication, so that you can work asynchronously, especially if you have folks in like different time zones and stuff, where in-person meetings are just not always possible and not necessarily the most efficient. So that being said, I do think my career as a CPA did help me understand the importance of writing, the power of words, how important documentation is for in that occupation, but just how words matter and using the right words in the right places at the right times, especially when you're dealing with lawyers, has really helped me develop my writing as a professional. So I think my writing style, unfortunately, I wouldn't consider it too creative, even though that's something I'm learning to embrace more and more as I'm more and more an independent creator every day. I started off as a fan of podcasting, but now I am a podcaster and certainly required to do a lot of writing, whether it's in emails or helping out with blog posts and stuff. So it is something that I do think is important and would like to get better at. because I do see it's just such an important ability in today's world.
Ability. Yeah. It's interesting because I had John Lee Dumas on my show a while ago, and he was like really just a hero of mine. Just when he started his podcast way back, and he's really transparent about how much money he's made. And, you know, I had him on the show, and the day I had him on the show, he was like either finishing his book or just starting his book. And so we were able to talk about that, but he didn't really have a book to write for a long time. So he didn't really, you know, no one came to him and was like, we'd love to give you a deal, until he had been doing this thing for a long time. So your time might come. We don't know, or you're going to have to write about the creation of something or being on the wave of something. And that's what's really exciting, is that I see this all the time. People that have been doing what they do for 10 years, and they're maybe not writers or not sure. And then all of a sudden they realize they got to tell their story. They've got to write the book so that more people can access what you've been through and get the like strength and resilience from you, so that they can have courage to be innovators as well. Right. So that's why, you know, I asked that question. So let's give the listeners a few tips before we wrap up here. Biggest mistakes podcasters make remotely.
Yeah. So I think the biggest one, which was something that wasn't exactly intuitive to me either. So, you know, just don't feel bad if this isn't something that you thought of. I was right there with you. So we talk a lot about, you know, what equipment or what setup will help you get the best sound quality, or what's the ideal setup for a podcaster. So we spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about microphones or headphones or what type of software we're using. But one of the best ways to impact the quality of your show is free. And that's being considering the environment that you're in. So not being in a loud place or a place that's going to have a lot of echo. You'll see podcasters do what seem to be wacky things, but it's because they can easily impact the quality of their show, like recording in a closet because
or the shower, right.
Yeah, something where the sound is like not going to be cause a lot of reverb or echo. So like what I do is I like put pillows around me. Of course, you can't see that right now because it's behind my computer, but there are pillows here to kind of
I didn't know that tip.
Absorb
That's
the sound.
Great. That's
yeah,
great.
Or like putting a towel on the table, or being in a room with carpet, curtains. All those things can absorb. It can acoustically treat the room, and generally speaking, don't cost you that much money. Of course, you can do some like panels that will absorb the sound as well, and those aren't too expensive. But I do think that's like it's an easy way to impact the quality of your show, and not something that everybody's thinking about, which again, I totally get. And then the other one is like how you interact with your equipment. So mic technique is another big thing that's been a huge learning point for me, because I, like you, Kim, like to be a little bit animated with the way that I talk. And so learning that can actually have some negative impacts on the sound quality if you're not paying attention enough. And a lot of us podcasters, or at least what I found, is that a lot of people that are podcasting aren't necessarily interesting because they're podcasting. It's because they bring in some unique experience or expertise that they want to use the power of the medium to, you know, get their message out there. So a lot of us aren't necessarily trained when it comes to recording audio and or video remotely. And so these are just like little tips that are either behavior or just like a few changes, a few adjustments that can have a huge impact on your quality, in addition to having a great microphone and using software like Squadcast.
Right. I had a funny occurrence where I learned the hard way. I had done this great standalone podcast recording where I was like, oh, I don't even have to edit this one. This is like so good, you know, because you can save money, you know, if you don't need to hire an editor. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
I had clean gone through. And at the very last of my like outro, in my like moment to shine in the sun, my cat's automated food machine went off.
Oh, no.
I had forgotten to take it out of the room. And it drips like 7 crunchies at a time, right? So it's not like you can hold out. I had to shut the whole thing down. I was just like, oh my God. So get your cat machine out of wherever you're recording if you're home. You know, it's just like again, like when you're your own engineer, you think you've got everything covered. You've got the lighting, you've got the microphone, you've got the curtains, you've got the thing, you've got the whatever. It's like you didn't forget to turn off your phone, your email's dinging, or your cat machine goes off. It could be like one of those many things. So those are really, really great tips. I am looking forward to seeing where Squadcast is going to go over the next bunch of years. I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and I'm grateful that you came on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, Kim. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me tell my story. And hopefully the next time I'll have a book to share with you.
That'd be great. Hopefully I'll help you write it.
Oh, thank you.